Hello, welcome to the Lewa Show, another edition this week, and I've got a full panel here. How are you guys?
Great.
Good, thank you.
Hola.
I'll let you introduce yourselves. I'll just put you on the spotlight right now.
Ooh.
Start
You
with
first. I'm Izabelle. I'm Izabelle Druma. Hi. That's it. That's about
I'm Jamie Pang.
And I'm Richanda-Leigh Kassman.
And I have got you guys here. I'm not even going to tell them what they're talking about. We're just going to like go right in.
Absolutely.
And I'm just going to start with you.
Yep, no worries.
So if you guys didn't know, she is the coach for the PNG Pepes team, which is the, oh yes, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Which is the national team into the Pacific Games in Samoa.
Yes.
So first question is a personal one.
No worries.
You're obviously not driven by money because you don't get paid for this job.
Yes.
What is your drive?
I think for me personally, it's all about what I can give back to the young kids coming through. As a young netballer, I watched a lot of netball growing up, and I had great role models. Mona Lisa Leka was one of them. And what I saw was the passion to represent the country and an opportunity to just be like an inspiration to young girls. Because when I watched them, I thought, wow, this is amazing. Like, you can do all these things on the netball court and still be a nice person off the court. Really, that was what it was. But what drives me now is watching young girls that maybe might not have had the same opportunities if they were not involved in sport. Whether it be being in an environment to make the right decision, making right choices, being in an environment of development, getting the opportunities to be exposed to so many things like international travel, or just getting educated about eating well. Those type of things to young Papua New Guinean women growing up right now are just hard to access. So, as a coach, being there to facilitate that, that's what drives me.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Agree, Izabelle?
Yeah, oh yeah. 100%. 100%. How do you coach the girls if you get any negative feedback on social media towards the girls? Like if they're losing and stuff like that, or if like what kind of how do you teach the girls to handle negative feedback from their own country?
From their own country. Well, I think it's always important to keep that positive mindset. You're always going to get negative feedback, positive feedback, but if you're going to put yourself out there, you've got to be able to handle whatever criticism or like the good stuff, positive comments that come to you. I think for us as netballers, we've always come second. I'll put it out there. But in the Vanuatu games, mini games, they actually won a gold medal. Not taking that away from them. They were up against Solomon Islands, Tonga and Vanuatu. Wasn't the big four in the Pacific, but it was a gold medal. So we've got to just drive on our successes rather than think about all the negative stuff that we get. Because once we start focusing on that, you then start to weigh yourself down on all the negative.
In the sport you're in, do you find that as well? Trying to zone in on the positives and uplift?
Yeah, of course. We get a lot of negative feedback because it's people see it as a violent thing, and we're associated with violence. But in fact, mixed martial arts has nothing to do with violence. It's you learn a lot of other virtues rather than just how to defend yourself and how to beat people down. For myself, I use it as strength. If someone gives me negative feedback, I love it.
Yep.
Because then I rise above and I try to, instill that on my students. Doesn't matter what people say about you or even what they do to you. With mixed martial arts, you can't be beaten. Even if you lose, you either win, lose, or learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
I mean, I believe there's elements of your sport that can be, cross sport. Mm-hmm. The strength side of things, and using what they did with, say for example, the rugby league tackles, Melbourne Storm, with the wrestling, and just to delay, play the ball. Things like that in other sports, they can pick up from, mixed martial arts. In rugby, they use a lot of netball drills because we're all about hand-eye coordination. Mm-hmm. So, there's aspects of different sports that can be used that don't necessarily have to be that negative side of things. Like,
that's right.
Especially the physicality of it. They say netball is not a non-contact sport. They call it a non-contact sport.
My injuries are from netball. What is that?
But if I could teach my athletes to protect themselves from things that happen to them that are similar, I mean,
Well, the
that you
gym's
really
open
will.
for you guys anytime.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, there
Thank
you
you
go.
very much. Just
PNG Pepes, there you go. So my next question is winning everything?
winning.
Yes, think about that, because that's an important question, and I hope that each of you have an answer to it. Because if we are zoning in on the positives, there will be some negativity there when you don't quite get to the end goal of winning, right? We all want to win in life. It's an application not only to sport, but in anything that we do. So just think about that, because we've got more to talk about after this. You're watching The Lewa Show. Follow us on our Facebook page. You're going to want to hear more from these amazing guys. We'll see you on the other side. Hello everyone, you're watching The Lewa Show and you're back with our awesome friends here. All right, let's get back to the question I asked you before we all went silent about winning. Is winning everything?
Well, if I was to kick it off, well, everyone would like to win. Of course you like to win. For example, if I speak for myself, my last cage fight, I lost the fight. You know, the ref pulled it up and I didn't feel as though I was damaged, or I didn't feel as though I'd lost the fight, but that's the way the ref saw it. And I learned a lot from it. I learned the virtue of humility. You know, it was an essential part of you know, my life's journey that I had to learn, because prior to that I don't think I had any at all. And after
Did you hear that?
after that I humbled myself good and proper. But you know, in saying that, after the fight I went to the bar. I think the other guy went to the hospital. So I felt as though I had a lot left in me for that, but I learned a valuable lesson and an essential lesson in my life, and that was humility. So in losing, there's a lot you can take out of it. Like, why did you lose? It's a game. Someone's got to win and someone's got to lose. So, you know, and if you do lose, learn from it. If you do win, humble yourself.
It's funny you talk about being humble, because I'm quite humble myself. So I'd just like to say, I'm a winner.
With Chacha. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yes, I did. I went to school with her.
And then
Okay.
I was the most humble person you knew. What are you talking about? But you see, I'm all about winning as well. In life, you've got to go out there with the mindset to win. But even when I'm losing, I'm still always winning. Everybody still thinks that even in the worst games that I've had or I've played, I'm always still winning. Like, you've got to go out there oozing with confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, with what you put out, and if you're showing all the confidence, people got to come off the court and got to be like, did you guys win that game? You know, they've got to ask the question. You can't come off the court thinking, you know, all like droopy and stuff like that, because otherwise it just shows just no confidence. You got to be about confidence. You got to be about
Well,
winning.
with that confidence, you have to earn it. Like, you can't just not train and then go out expecting to win. But if you've put everything that you've got into your training and you've earned that right to believe you're going to win, of course you got to have that mindset you're going to win. But you got to train for it.
Absolutely.
You know, in any
Yep.
sport, you have to give it your all. It's pretty much all or nothing. So
Yep.
when it's go time and you do step in that cage or the ring or onto the court, you know that you've put everything into your training camps. You've listened to your coaches. You've had the right diet. You've said no to substances and alcohol, etc. And you give it your all. Even if you lose, well, you gave it your all. You got beaten by the better team. It's a fair game.
Well, sometimes it's also a way of just showing some of the girls that play netball, for example. There's not much competition out there. So the confidence that's oozing out of them might not be from the fact that they've actually done any work. They're just the best out there. So I think when we speak of actually going out and doing the work, people have to understand what it actually takes to be a national team player, or even in a club. You've got to start when you're a little girl with that mindset of, I'm going to do everything that I can to get to the top.
That's right.
It's not just me turning up, you know, a week before the tournament because I'm the only shooter that's left, or I'm the only mid-quarter that's left,
Yep.
I'm the only defender that's left. You've got to earn it. And sometimes we're in situations in sport right now where we don't have good development pathways. So you are the only athlete there. So what do you do in those circumstances when you're oozing with confidence? You might not have prepared well, but you go out there and perform. What do you do about those type of athletes?
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
That leads back to the question we had, Izabelle, with the attitude of our athletes currently. Like you said before, if they're losing, they're being slammed for losing. And if they're winning, they're gods. And then if they go back again and they lose, the very same person or the very same team, they're slammed again.
Oh, so much shade. Especially with the old kids. You guys saw the old kids and the Kumos. They
Yes.
both lost. Both teams lost. Well, most shade was thrown on the old kids for some reason. Because I don't know if it was because they were women or because they were mothers and they sacrificed being with their like being away from their family to take upon the PNG jersey. And then they get slammed for it. And I remember because I was at the gate, I was at the field and I was watching them. Both teams lost. But more shade was thrown. I don't know if I should see it from a feminist point of view or if people just like to see winners only, want to see like our PNG succeed. And I think we were talking about it back there. You were saying that PNG is very territorial and stuff like that with their image and how we are portrayed outside there. So if you don't come back with a crown over your head, you're considered nothing.
Yeah. And the challenge is for every athlete, when you put yourself out there and you don't get the results, how are you going to take it? What are you going to do?
That's a key part, you know.
Some of them come back and just rest on their laurels. They don't take the challenge and make sure that in the next 4 years, knowing that we've got, like, for example, now the Pacific Games, we all know there's the Pacific Games in 4 years. The work doesn't start in 4 years' time. It starts today. Even though we're in competition, the results are going to come next week. But what are you going to do after that?
Yeah, that's right. I'd like to jump on that one. I'd like to use my brother as an example, you know, like he's over 40 years old now. He's been fighting on a world stage for as far back as I can remember, most of his life. It was his dream ever since we were kids. And, you know, he trained like crazy, like every single martial art he could get into. I didn't have the discipline, obviously, but Michel Faidler Street, yeah. So anyway, he really focused on it. And, you know, to this day, like if he loses a fight, like when he carries that PNG flag, my brother, he doesn't take anything lightly. So when he carries the flag, he is repping it. Even though it says Australia, you know, he's representing Australia, that's because that's what his passport says. But he was born here.
Yep.
He was born at Vunapopi.
Yep.
And when we carry that flag, we are the only mixed martial artists on a world stage at you know, the biggest fight show on the planet. It's bigger than the UFC. One championship is bigger than the UFC. It's not as promoted, and it's not as Hollywood, but it's really professional. When he loses, it's devastating for him. But he doesn't get any easy fights, but he takes it and he comes back harder and stronger than ever.
Yep.
You know? Yeah.
Well, you know, speaking of him representing Australia but being born in Papua New Guinea, we've had a lot of issues with the previous, in 2015, we had a lot of athletes who were eligible to play for Papua New Guinea but just didn't have the passport.
Oh, don't get me started. Right now as we speak, my little brother Christian Pang is in Samoa, supposed to be representing Papua New Guinea for basketball. He got selected for the team, he did the whole camp and everything, but for some reason we can't get his dual citizenship, which we applied for 6 months ago. He'd be up there with the top, you know, top 10, well, top
Best
5,
Papua,
actually he's the best player on the team.
Oh.
So, you know, mangi blo here, yeah, how no by me, no na play because of passport or whatever it is.
Yeah, that happened in a couple of sports. Like in netball, the International Federation rules allows us to have passports of another nation.
Yes.
So, you know, some sports allow it. In football, have a kind of connection to the football there. They had 6 players not allowed to play in the last Pacific Games, and then now continued even after 4 years of being in that whole process. There's a possibility there for us to get the wins, but when we find the athletes, how are we what's the process to allow them to actually represent the country? It's actually not there. So we speak about the dual citizenship, and we speak about there being a sporting, you know, the sporting, is it the sporting visa?
Yeah. Oh, there's a visa.
Yeah, like a sporting passport.
Yeah, it's a passport. They said that there was some, you know, some things they had to look into. Like my father represented Papua New Guinea, and you know, undefeated windsurfing champion at the games. My brother still represents Papua New Guinea. We carried the flag high, get very minimal recognition for it. I represent PNG, everything. I don't know what more they want.
Yeah.
This is his dream. And he finally got in there. He's been in the team the whole camp, and they just, nope. So he's there on the sideline. And we've been fighting for it 24/7 for quite some time.
And that's where it needs to change. I mean, when you've got people who are, you know, determined, they are there not for themselves, but for the country as well. He could easily get on a plane and come back home, or go back home.
That's
to,
right.
You know,
no, he's chosen to stay with his team,
You know?
You know that, PNG? We're doing this for you.
Yeah, we are.
So that's to give negative feedback all the time.
You know, the majority of the things I do is for my family, which my little girls are from here. Their mother's Papua New Guinean, but you know, everything I do is for this country. The only thing I got out of Australia was a bad accent, I think.
So that leads me to my next question, Jamie. Sorry to stop you there, which we'll take up soon. Is what is your advice to the athletes going into the Pacific Games? You were talking about firing people up, which is something you're really good at. That's a really good attitude to have. Izzy, you're quite influential already. What would you say to people to fire them up? And to your girls, what are you saying to them to get them ready?
I'd be interested to hear what you're going to say, because you've offered to come and speak to them, and I want to take you up on that offer.
All right. So our producer's going crazy right now, but we will take a short, relaxing moment, probably refill of our coffees, and we will be right back. Hello, you're watching the Lewa Show, and we're here at the beautiful Sanctuary Resort and Spa.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Jamie.
Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, management. How beautiful is it here, Izzy?
It's pretty cool. I come here all the time, especially for the sashimi.
The
I'm
food
going
is
to try
amazing.
that sashimi.
The panna cotta was amazing. I tried that for the first time last shoot, and the pool is amazing too. Probably go for a dip after this hot topic, which I asked the question before we left. So who's bold enough to start? You said you wanted to go talk to the PNG Pepes, which the coach sitting right here says she's willing to take you up on that. Yeah.
Well, I think I got asked what would I say to them. Well, each team that I speak to, I think it's a bit of a private thing, and it happens pretty spontaneously, so I sort of catch the vibe and go with it. But if I was to give any advice to anyone representing overseas, you know, make sure you remember, people look at us in the media. PNG's a no-go zone.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and they think the worst of us straight away. Like, let's show them what we're really about. Because I find the people here very respectful. I don't find, there's not one place in Papua New Guinea that I wouldn't go. There's nowhere that's a threat. Our Yumi Stop Safe campaign, we hit the no-go zones and it was fantastic. We have no trouble. Of course, you get in every group there's one or two. Yeah. But carry the flag with pride, you know. We're an evolving country. We're great sportsmen. It's what we're the best at. And we've still got a long way to go, but we're going to get there very quick. And just remember the attitude and what people see and how people portray us. I think it's very important that we just remain humble and respectful in everything we do.
No, you're absolutely correct. You know, just going on that, continuing on from there, just reminding everyone that you're representing the country. But not only are you representing the country, you're representing your family, yourself. But before you started this journey, there is a reason why every day you turned up for training. It didn't matter how you went to training, but there was a reason why. And you've got to hold on to that why, because that why will always drive you. It might not be the 8 million people that drive you to turn up to training. It might be your niece, because my niece drives me. And she's driven me since the day she was born. But I think when we talk about passion, it's not something that as Papua New Guineans we know how to show. When we talk about grit, it's not something that we know how to show. We go out there and we put everything out there. But the personalities that we have in ourselves, you know, as Papua New Guineans, we are there to represent all the people in the country. But it's a harder journey that we've traveled. You know, we are expected to be the big brother in the Pacific, but we actually don't get as much as everybody else.
That's right.
Right.
You know, and that type of information needs to be shared. Like people need to know the real stories about.
This is why we
our
have this
athletes.
show.
No,
Guys.
absolutely.
Okay, yeah. Sorry.
No,
Tasha, I
because
got excited
like
there.
for netball,
Yes.
for netball, you know, Fiji are giants, you know, netball giants in the Pacific, but you know they have avenues where their athletes can get work if they're in the national team. Our young girls that play the sport, it's out of love. They need to stop work to attend training if they want to succeed at, you know, representing Papua New Guinea, because
Yeah.
the time that's needed to put into the sport and training, you don't get paid for.
That's right.
And it's not like you can say, you know, athletes should be paid, you know, getting paid, and coaches should be getting paid, but it's not sustainable in the current environment that we live in. Economic,
our country.
sport, yeah. We're just not at that level of thinking yet.
Okay.
And I think once we start to understand that, I mean, rugby league is different, but you know, all
Why?
of that.
Why is rugby league different?
Because all of their funding actually doesn't get trickled into only the national teams. They have their, you know, development programs, and they might not start at the right ages,
But they do have.
but they do have them. In
they
netball, I have 6-year-olds that play netball.
Yeah.
But where are we investing? You know, and we shouldn't just be investing because netball is a female sport. There must be some drive behind. All those corporates must get something in return. You know, when you invest in something, you've definitely got to ask for that return. And in the past, if in netball they don't see any return, as a netball coach, I've got to ask myself, what are we doing wrong? Not so much,
There should
why
be
aren't
some
they
sort
jumping?
of sport equality, like everyone get
Yep.
get a decent share of it. Even combat sport, the combat sports get zero, and we're a country that still fight, you know, every day.
Naturally.
We're
Natural
natural fighting
warriors.
Yeah.
champions.
Super
Yeah, that's
expensive
right.
sport, too.
Yeah, and it's,
Paying
you
for
know,
hospital bills.
don't say that. She needed a grading.
Izzy, what's your take on this?
I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
And Jamie, of course, is my coach.
Oh.
So I can't really, like, whatever he says,
That's
I'm
okay,
always
you can
100%
say it.
behind
Oh,
him.
He
stop
won't chuck
acting.
you in the pool. He
Yeah.
won't chuck you in the pool.
Yeah.
But
No,
it's like I'm listening to my stepmom, Izabelle. Hi. Because you remind me a lot of her. And so do you think it's a management issue?
It also comes, it can be a management issue, but they're all volunteers as well.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
so
even-
the expectation on them is to provide, you know, everything. There's a lot of expectation in today's world, but it's unrealistic sometimes. We look at the outside world and we expect it back home. We've got to build those foundations first to ensure that there's some sustainability before we start asking if I can get this or if I can get that or if they can provide me with this. If we come with the intention to give rather than to take, that's when we'll truly get some sort of gratitude out of what we're doing.
Interesting.
It was a little learning experience for me. I'm just learning.
Yeah.
I'm not represented the country yet. So listening to Jamie and Chacha, it's good. It's good.
that's yet. I think Izzy's one of the next in line to go over like your brother did. We sponsored Patrick, her brother. I gave him his purple belt here. And, he went overseas and competed with on an international stage with some black belts, like some more highly qualified people than him in jiu-jitsu. He placed second he placed very high and did very well, and came home with victories for us.
See,
Didn't even get recognised.
Yeah, then you have those people. So I've got another hot question for you. I know you're probably all sick of me. So we've got to wrap this part of this conversation up, but we should hear from the country. Is that a dangerous thing to ask?
Nope.
Oh, no,
Let's
absolutely
go.
not. Absolutely not.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
We'll have a poll up here somewhere. Give us your
Poll,
thoughts
poll,
on
poll.
how you think our athletes should be better supported maybe, and what needs to be done for all sporting codes to grow together as opposed to just one or the other. You are watching the Lewa Show. We will see you very soon. watching the Lewa Show, and we've come to my favorite segment, which is the entertainment segment, and we display local talent right here in Papua New Guinea. And tonight we have Michael Yossi, who was in the top 8 in Vocal Fusion in 2014, and he will be singing an original of his, which is entitled Runaway. Enjoy.
Time is up, no gaman, stop one time me. Time me go, no gaman, go on time me. We need blow, in making me worry. Bisini karai, in making me sorry. Run away, long way, long hill. Run away, long way, long hill. No God house, mislead, nabot lang raw. Looking man Mary Ihamamas all time. Rainy boom down, ikaray anta me. Run away, long way, long hill. Run away, long way, long hill. Run away, long way.
And there you have it, guys, Runaway, which is actually surrounded by a topic close to Michael's heart, which is street life here in Port Moresby, something that many of us don't really value. So that was an original by Michael Yossi, which I'm sure many of our citizens can relate to. If you want to see more local talent right here on The Lewa Show, follow us on our Facebook page, The Lewa Show, find us on YouTube. And if you have a talent that you would like to display, send us a message and a short video so we can share with the rest of the country what you have to offer. You're watching The Lewa Show, and I am your host, Lewa KANAH. We will see you next time.